Maybe it would take some time.
Ah, I am live. I had to press a button. We were still in pre-flight. We are live now.
Oh,
So this is all new
Nice.
to me. And we'll just see where we end up. Let's put on Twitter that we are live now.
I
Uh,
just tweeted that.
cool.
I was just waiting to pull the trigger
And
when.
I will do a plain retweet on that one.
Nice.
I'm seeing that we have one viewer. That's probably one of you guys. Do you have YouTube
Not me,
open?
actually.
Okay. So yeah, let's just I'd say let's just get started, right? Um, welcome everybody to our live stream experiment. This is the first time that the three of us are actually doing a live stream in any capacity. So probably things are going to be a bit well, awkward maybe. Just getting things started and coming to grips with YouTube Studio live streaming interface is one of the things that we're dealing with. But it seems to be working quite nicely. And we're online with the three of us. And yeah, it's just a matter of making sure that we don't have any issues while we are streaming. We have some notes prepared to make sure that we have a good session for you. I'm changing my lighting a little bit because I'm like oversaturated. That's better. And let's just get started. And if you have any thoughts on our live stream, any comments, do use the chat in YouTube. We are monitoring that, and we try to pick up any questions that you might have and try and answer those for you. So first of all, I want to thank Stream, that's the employer of all three of us, for allowing us to be so active in the engaging with the iOS community during the WWDC week. And as you might have known, Stream is a chat product that allows you to easily incorporate a chat feature in your website or your app in days instead of months. Definitely check it out, getstream.io. So thanks for that, Stream. And if you have any questions on that product that we as Stream employees, as DevRel team, try to bring to the market, just hit us up on Twitter or anywhere that you come across us. So not to carry on too much about the sponsorship aspect, let's just dive in headfirst on all the content. First of all, we have three people here. Stefan, he's in my team at Stream, and he's developer relations engineer / advocate. And we have Amos, he's also in my team. He's also a developer relations engineer advocate with a focus on video content. And there's one special thing about Amos, and that's that he's actually traveled to the Apple campus. So we're probably going to dig into that a little bit as well. And yeah, that's mostly about us. I'm the team lead of these two here, so I get the privilege to work with them every day, and don't want to carry on too much about that. So to get things started, what was the biggest announcement according to you two? I have an idea on something as well, but I'm really curious to hear what you, Stefan, think is the biggest announcement of WWDC this year.
So for me, it was definitely the way that they presented Swift UI, because that's like the framework I enjoy working with the most. And I really liked the way they communicated everything around that and the additions they made to it, because like according to them, it was the real clear that Swift UI and Swift is, I think the quote was, is the best way to build apps on Apple's platforms. So I think it clearly shows that they are really embracing it, and teams and developers are really inclined to start using SwiftUI if they haven't already, to basically start the transition there. And I was really happy about that, to see that, even if there was like a lack of huge blockbuster announcements. I still think that's a great outcome of this year's edition of the conference. So I'm really happy to have heard that and see the trajectory forward for Apple on this topic.
And
Amos, what? Sorry.
And
go
is
ahead.
it specific features of the Swift UI framework that you really like and what they have added this year, or is it like more in general language type things that they've added?
So I think it's mostly like in like small increments of the functionality and like overall better development experience. And I like the approach they're doing by just gradually adding new things while basically not deprecating too much. I think the only thing that was deprecated was the way that like one of the navigation components work. So I really like the way they don't do splashy changes every year, but just gradually improve that. And I think that really helps to get SwiftUI to a level where it's and I don't want to get a shitstorm of that, but like production ready in just a very small time frame.
Yeah, because even though they did a lot of updates to SwiftUI, also I watched the What's New in UI Kit session, and there's like a ton of new stuff in UI Kit as well. So it really seems that Apple is not neglecting or forgetting UI Kit, but they are sending a clear message this year that if you build a new app, then SwiftUI is definitely your first option to start working with. So yeah, and you already wanted to hand it off to Amos. So Amos, what is your take on the biggest announcements this year?
From my side, I would say Swift charts. So for the previous year, I have been waiting to do some sessions and then preview them in SwiftUI. Like there wasn't any way. So I experimented with they have a Python library called Bouquet. You can use it to just create those charts in SwiftUI, and they also have another called Sibo. So I experimented with those, but where to use those visualizations. So introducing this in SwiftUI is really great. And then after watching the presentation, I thought like maybe it is just basic, but I got time to just go through the itself, and you can add a lot of interactivity and do complex visualizations with it. So I think it's really great. Like if you work on some apps, like maybe workout apps, you can just use it to progress of users workout and other things.
So you have some plans. You have some plans already with Swift charts, making some content with that, or what are your thoughts there?
I started yesterday making some content on it, and then I also plan to write article, like getting started with, and then we
What's
just
your
go
favorite
from
chart?
there.
That's true.
Yeah. So now it's like what I didn't like documentation is like they have a lot of these charts, and then they don't really and where to use or when is it to use a particular chart. If you compare that to the data visualizations from Google, they get like pie chart context, but you cannot use something like bar chart or so in the Apple documentation, that part is not really clear, but I think it's good. Like they have really great examples which you can just use in your app too.
Yeah, and a lot of documentation is also written in Docs, I think. And, from my understanding, they did a few important and useful upgrades to Doxy as well. Talking about Doxy, actually, I just wanted to plug some were released the Friday before WWDC. Most people, they know the Swift package index, right? I wanted to say manager, but it's the Swift package index. And on Friday, what they actually launched was a Doxy generating of the Swift package index. So if you have your package in the Swift...
Oh, I saw it somewhere. I think I didn't follow. Okay.
Yeah, you have to do a little bit of metadata on your repository, and then all of a sudden all your Doxy documentation is generated and hosted on the Swift package index. People should definitely check if they have some time. And it's a lot of hassle out of generating the Doxy stuff. So yeah, Swift charts is the thing for you. It's because it's a very visual thing. Is that the reason that or is it mostly that it was something that you were using in the Swift UI framework? So you always had to use a third-party dependency or roll your own thing to do something that resembles charts.
I have a way to do that long ago, so but I didn't think like it would be implemented in UI this way. So I became so happy when I saw it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and then around, I also have some things that I think were really announced, at least according to my taste, and it's I'm on two things really, because initially I wanted to say passkey, that's a big new thing, but I looked into it a little bit more. I remembered, and also saw a session that they did on passkeys last year on WWDC 2021. So passkeys in itself, the login mechanism is nothing new, but what they did upgrade was the integration that you should be able to do with these passkeys. So that's the ability to log in with your device on a separate device without having these two devices associated through. Work in their backend frameworks, because right now you still have to look at Golang examples or some other language. And I'm really looking forward to how this will develop and whether or not passkeys will actually be a thing that is like standard or normal when working with websites and apps when logging in. And then the second thing. Go ahead.
How is the third-party integration there? Is it just limited to Apple's services?
That's a bit an interesting challenge there, because like a couple of weeks before WWDC, Apple, Microsoft, and Google, they announced a sort of partnership on with the FIDO Alliance, and FIDO is the organization that has actually defined the underlying standard that enables this passwordless login. So that's the WebAuthn standard. And the big question that you now see online is, okay, I can create my passkeys on my device, I can share them between my devices through my iCloud keychain. Also, these passkeys, you can share them with other Apple users by using handoff. So, for instance, if the two of us would meet, I could send you a handoff with a passkey so that you can also log in with those credentials. So they are shareable. But what about cross-platform, or I should say cross-ecosystem? So that's a big question. How do you share your credentials when you're, for instance, you're an Android user and you want to become an iPhone user? Is there a way that you can migrate all your credentials from the Android platform to the iOS or Apple ecosystem, and vice versa? And then there's also the Windows platform. So is there some sort of interchange being developed or not? And there's no clear indication yet on whether or not that will be available. So yeah, that's still a big question mark. I hope it will be. It's level functionality that should just be available to everyone online on the internet. People should be secure and sort of like phishing proof. So hopefully some good news will be available there in weeks, maybe month. We'll just have to see. So, but it is a developed standard, WebAuthn, that's been around for a couple of years already. So it's been proven. The cryptography underlying this standard is sound. So a Elliptic curve based algorithm. It should be good, but then the question is, what will be the adoption of these standards? So we'll see. But the one thing that I really liked about the announcements, the actual announcement of the Apple Silicon M2, and that's basically, I think, a little bit because I'm using an M1 MacBook Pro as my daily driver. I've got actually two MacBook Pro laptops available to me, one and one from work, and it's been a really great little machine. It's like it has performance, it's portable, and of course I'm not building these huge Xcode projects like I did with my previous job, so it's more than powerful for me right now. And just knowing that that the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro are the first receivers of this new this new hardware, that's really great to see. And it also gives a clear indication on what their rollout plan will be for the CPU across their lineup, because it's probably going to be very similar to what they did with the M1 CPU. And what I'm really curious about with the M2 announcement is you have the MacBook Air, which has a total new case design, the upgraded case design. It has like MagSafe, and so if you're charging, you still have all your USB-C ports available. but the MacBook Pro M2 is pretty much a MacBook Pro M1 with a different CPU in it. So all the cameras and all the other specs, the keyboard, the touch bar is all the same. So I was kind of surprised by that. But on the other hand, they did close the gap a little bit between the two devices for how much you have to pay. So the MacBook Pro is not that much more expensive compared to the MacBook Air.
Yeah.
And what's happening?
There's some beeping sound in the background.
Just a second.
Yeah, I can hear it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to quickly add on that, because I really like the entire setup of the new MacBook
I think my
Air.
wife did like a device discovery on my laptop for some reason.
Oh, okay.
But it's off again. It was my laptop in my laptop bag actually going off. So to continue on the M1 M2 comparison, I was kind of surprised that they didn't do like a case upgrade, a design upgrade of the MacBook Pro, and I'm really curious to see what the performance difference will be between the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro with the M2 chip, because between the M1 models of those two, the Air and the Pro, there was no performance difference except when you were doing sustained workloads, so that you have like a lot of CPU intensive tasks running for a longer duration, and then you would run into the thermal limits of the MacBook Air case design. So I'm really curious to see how this pans out for the M2 CPU in this new case design compared to the old case design for the MacBook Pro, which has active cooling, and the MacBook Air still does not have active cooling. So that's
it's
a lot
like
about
an
the M2.
interesting setup, but
Yeah.
because I think it's the 13-inch MacBook Pro, right?
Yeah.
And there's still the 14 and 16-inch, which are like the newer designed devices. So
Yep.
I think it's interesting that they kept the old form factor of the 13-inch MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Because as you mentioned, the capabilities in the MacBook Air are already so powerful. And I think I don't really see where the MacBook Pro in the non 14s or 16-inch MacBook Pro really comes in, because I would have understood it very well if they said the M2 is for the MacBook Air, and then the M2 Pro and the M2 Max, not the Ultra, I think, with Pro lineup, because that would be like a very clear differentiator between the platforms, or between the device lines, and that's not happening. So I'm a little bit wondering why they're keeping the 13-inch MacBook Pro around.
I think it's simple. I think the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro 13-inch are there to computer pieces of hardware with Apple that are they sell the most of those two. So by putting the M2 in the Air and the Pro 13-inch, they get enough sales going really on the M2 chip, so that they have the benefit of scale there. And then once and that allows them to produce these things cheaper, optimize the processes of this new CPU. And once they got that nailed down, then they can fan out into the other case designs that are just sold quite a lot less compared to the 13-inch and the Air. I think that's the main driver there. And
good point.
And also last year, the MacBook Pro 13-inch and the MacBook Air, the difference between the two devices was tiny. There was some hardware features that were different, but in essence, it was the same machine with or without active cooling. And it's a bit of a. I think the MacBook Pro 13-inch is a little bit of a between machine between the MacBook Air and the 14-inch MacBook Pro. But in any case, I really like the upgrades that they did, and I'm really curious to see some actual real-world performance numbers on these M2s, because they were a bit vague in the graphs, because they were really comparing the performance per watt a lot in these graphs, but they were not really comparing the actual peak performance between devices. So of course the Apple wants to give graphs that is most beneficial to their pitch of the product. But I do think that if you have a beefy Intel CPU based laptop, that the peak performance of that thing is probably a lot higher than what this MacBook Pro 13-inch can do. but at what cost? You're probably running a laptop. If you want to run it on peak performance with a battery, then probably like an hour, maybe 2, the battery is dead. So what's the benefit then of having a mobile machine, right? So
True.
not to keep on going on the hardware, because WWDC is of course a software and a developer event.
Yeah.
Let's continue on. And there was one really big, cool thing that happened during this week, and that was actually Amos's trip to Cupertino, which almost ran into a little bit of an issue when traveling there, but we were fortunately, with some crazy running around by Amos, able to sort that, and he was able to get to Cupertino in time and be part of all the activities there. So can you tell a little bit about what the experience was like? Because just starting at like the first day, getting to the Apple campus and just being welcomed on site. So can you tell a little bit about that, Amos?
I would say in the beginning it was quite stressful. Like I have EU nationality, so I don't need ESTA to. I don't need a visa, so I had to apply for ESTA. So after applying for ESTA, I also passport. So thinking like new passport to go in the same way. So then the KLM agents told me like ESTA approval in the old account anymore. So I tried to buy and take it immediately. So I bought it. I checked it was 0. So by the time I went to it was around 1,100. So I just bought it like that to fly on the next day. Then I went to the airport again. It was like 4 hours before the takeoff. Then I tried to check in, and then they told me like the COVID test has expired because it doesn't need to be more than 24 hours. So I had a COVID test at the airport, so I had to run and do that again. Yeah. But in the end, but in the end, everything was fine. And then by the time I got to San Francisco to the COVID test I did here has also I had to do another COVID test within 15 hours to be able to enter into the Apple event. Yeah. So
because Apple required attendees to have a negative test available, right? Or have an actual proof that they tested negatively within like 24 hours before the event.
You have to do the test with a recognized agency, and then after that, they give you a link to the result. Yeah.
Cool. So then you got to Cupertino. You checked into your hotel, or did you go straight to the campus?
No, late. So I booked for one tour in the Apple Developers Center. So I was getting, because it was starting from 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. So by the time I got to the hotel, it was already 4 o'clock. So do anything until the next day. So another tour in the morning. So I was able to participate.
So and then you get to the campus on the first day that you are able to, and then what was the experience like? Was it like a little bit like going to an Apple store, but then like insanely bigger, or what was it like?
You mean the Apple store, or
no, just going to the Apple campus and being welcomed on site for the tour and taking the tour, really?
Before you get in, you have to do like 5 security checks. So they check you in the beginning. They check you like what you have in your bag. They check your pocket. They do screening like they do at the airport as well. Then after that, they will also check you and ask you some few questions. Then the last check, where they give you the badge. If you have the badge, then you are allowed to enter to the developers.
So a very intense security screening going on there to make sure that there would be no mishaps during the events.
So they even they just moving around where to check that everything is in place. Yeah. So by
That's
the
intense.
time, yeah, after getting to the, they take us through the tour, like 20 people in a group. You go through
Yeah.
labs and different meeting rooms for developers. What they do, their recording rooms and for their videos for presentations and other things, which were really cool.
Yeah, and you've been at the spaceship, right? The big ring, but you
Yeah.
could not get to the center of the space ring, right? You could only because what I understood, the keynote viewing and the other things that were like at the campus building itself, they were on the outside of the ring. So you were at Cafe Mac, and then outwards was where the screen was, right?
The ring was at the other side. Then they put a barrier, so you can just take photos and everything there. But they to go beyond the ring, and then on the other side, they open two large. And then
Yeah, but
after Cafe Mac, they also have a park where they have the main screen. Totally, they had like 3 screens.
so you were sitting in the sun during the event, or what?
During the keynote, I sat in the sun.
Yeah.
They provided some cream. You can just apply on the screen because they thought like it was too warm.
Yeah.
After that, people were just moving away. Like I was watching with some group, and then we moved to Cafe Mac. I also wanted different locations where I can take photos, so I moved to Cafe Mac during the. Yeah.
So and Cafe Mac, that's the cafeteria in the
Yes,
Apple campus
yes.
ring, with these
Yes.
huge sliding doors, right?
Yeah. I had. They have glasses everywhere, so I even had. They also had a lawsuit about that because people were just banging the head with the glasses all the time. So,
people were just walking into the glass. Great.
yeah. It's quite huge. Really huge,
Yeah.
and you have to go far all around the building. Everywhere is glasses. So, I think the developers had to just construct the place again. But it looks really nice. It is really great. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the screen that you were like viewing the keynote on it. My understanding was that it's the exact same video that people saw online, but was there something that was special that was added before, like the video, or was there something happening before the video got started, or not?
I thought it will happen. Maybe I thought like maybe to come and speak in person, like different developer group or any. It didn't happen in that way. It started at the same time. So the screen, it was just at that time when everything was started.
Yeah, and what did you have a good view? Was the screen bright enough? Like, because it was in the middle of the sun, right?
It's quite huge, and you can just see it well, like even from the photos I sent. You can see the look. Yeah, I don't know how they were able to get the picture quality to look so good, just like that. And then
Maybe they used the Vivid app from Jordi.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be cool. Yeah.
And then if you go to Cafe Mac to the 2 screens, they were also huge. Like it takes, it can be even. So they were also having good as well. Yeah, but most of the people didn't want to sit in the sun anymore.
Yeah, it was quite warm, right?
Yeah, it's quite warm. And then Cafe Mac is also quite large, so there were still some empty seats over there.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question for during the keynote or during the State of the Union as well. When did people scream or applaud during that? Because I mean I watched it at home, sitting quietly and being happy about things. But how was the atmosphere of the people sitting there? Because it was all developers, right?
Yeah, it was all developers. So so much clap, but at some point when they introduce a new technology, then can just see people shouting, or somebody would just stood and then say something, and then people were just clapping on.
Yeah,
That's cool.
that's really cool.
It's
yeah.
nice.
So, just showing some pictures here, so
Oh,
that people
cool.
can have a view on what you were doing during this
Yeah,
event.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, it's
I can say something about this one. So I was sitting here on the main screen.
yeah.
So on the left, close to the long speaker over at the back. So I was just close to the back as well. Then
Cool.
you can take the photos. Yeah.
All right.
So
So it seems
screen.
it seems like they had like the, as you would expect with Apple, that they had like everything in order and you had a good view on the screen. Sun was a
Yes.
bit bright and a bit warm, but everything else was really cool. How was
Everything
the audio?
was cool.
Could you hear everything all right there?
They have the speakers situated in all locations. So you can see here in the front they have like 3 of them. Then on the side, from the front to the back, it just go long way. And then in Cafe Mark 2, that in different locations. Here, just like sitting in your home, listening to it. Yeah.
So, but that's then the keynote and the State of Union. That was also outside, right?
Yeah. This it was in the same location.
Cool.
During that one is the time I moved with Yoridi to.
Yeah, to just have a bit of a cooler head during the announcements.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you can still keep a cool head like at the Amos campus during WWDC. So, but the State of the Union and the keynote, that was just a small bit of all the activities that Apple arranged, because you already talked about a tour that you got. You viewed the keynote, you viewed the State of the Union. What other things did you do while you were there?
After the keynote, and then the SOTU, they also organize meet and greet. So in during that time, I tried to UI and UI framework team. There were like 12 people in the team. Luckily, Matt Ricketson was also there. So I asked someone where is Matt, and then they showed me like he in the group. So he was so happy to meet me, and then he introduced me to the group, and then they were so happy. Like he told them what we do, and then he also watched some video from Stefan. I was even surprised. He saw. He just wanted to know what I do at stream, and then he told what I do at stream, and then they also asked me how UI in the basis, and then if I can speak about that. So I told them everything, and they were so happy. He said it'd be good if he introduced me to the Apple developer relations team. So he called one lady, they call him Bessie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So she came, she's technical director also, and then she introduced me to the Apple developer relations team.
Cool. So any connections you were able to make that might be something that will help you out in the future, or what do you think?
Two of them, they just requested my Twitter account and then followed me as well. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's I think the in-person aspect, not just the Apple engineers and the Apple people, but also all the other people that you were able to meet was really nice, because you also shared some pictures with people that you met there on site during other events that you participated in.
It was quite surprising, like they have used Stream before, and most of them too, they have used Stream and stopped using Stream. So I was a bit surprised. Like I was working, and then a guy came, oh, I have used Stream. I have this app and that, but now I don't use Stream anymore because and then I met another guy. They also Stream even now, and I met like 6 people in that sense.
That's cool, especially
Yeah.
when people can tell you why they stopped using Stream. That's like really
Yeah,
valuable
yeah,
to us.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's stuff
And
that
then
you want to know.
another thing was for people who don't know about Stream, when they see it is really think like it is maybe live streaming thing. So I met they were just introducing what they do, and then he was talking about up.
Yeah.
Spoke like 5 minutes. After that, he asked me, "Oh, I think your app is also the same thing as what I do. Can you defend this?" That doesn't know. We don't do that.
This is what we do.
Yeah.
So, because you did some other things beyond the keynote, the State of the Union, the labs, and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
to close the Apple campus visit off, were there any things that surprised you while you were on site there, or was that something that you didn't expect, or anything?
For the first time, I would say how open the Apple employees were. They were just open. If you ask them anything, they would just try to. And then after the I was happy our event, I met Apple employees there. So Apple allows you to just go for event, and then a guy, the iCloud team, he said it's a good question because in the beginning he didn't feel go for event because people were just interested in asking him what he's working on and the projects he tried to explain to them more details. So now people just understand. So they are just respectful of when he goes to external team so much. So they were just open and interacting with the people all the time, which was really, really great.
Okay.
And another thing was before you get to the Apple Developer Center, do the security check and make sure you don't have any camera with you. So just trying to say, oh, you can take any photos, how many, but you have to use iPhone. So they will not, they will not tell you that way. Or the cameras away. Only the press were able to use the camera and to enter.
So if you would show up with a bag with a camera in it, then they would say, nope, you got to put it in a locker over there and pick it up afterwards, or
then they give you a tag, give you a copy of the tag, and then they also keep one. Yeah, because I went with the camera I use for making the videos, which has really, really good quality. So I thought like maybe I can use it to take all the photos. No, yeah, they will just come around like 5 people. They will just check you whether you have camera or not before they can allow you to just.
Yeah.
But apart from that, you can just many photos you want because they know all the.
I wonder what would have happened if you would show up there with like a Samsung Android phone and then start snapping pictures there. I wonder what they would have done then.
I think those devices don't work there. They have some form of blocking.
Yeah, they have some sort of force field there that just scrambles those devices.
Pretty sure about
but
that.
I think they also think developers, Apple developers don't use Android, so that may also be one thing.
Yeah, there's a low likelihood of having a developer there who's carrying only Android devices, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but you also participated in some community activities around the event, right? So I think you went to the iOS Dev Happy Hour in-person edition.
I went there and then I met people, and then I already saw also came to me. The Stream t-shirt. I was surprised when he recognized me and said, "Oh, Amos from Stream, right?" Then I said, "Yes." Started to talk with me, and then we took some photos and other things. Yeah, so I would just share with you as well. Yeah, and then I met some. They call him Kyle. He said he's a friend of Stefan. he has an app, and
Yeah.
he's as well. Then he contacted me, happy about the videos we do, and then he was just telling some other developers about the work.
Yeah. So just by being there, you're already spreading the word on stream by not even saying anything. That's amazing.
It's quite nice in that sense.
And were there any other events besides the iOS Dev Happy Hour and the Apple events themselves that you went to, or did you not have any more time available to participate in things?
I think around, I think that was the main event going around there, because they have like 50 participants. So for the event, it is free, and
Yeah.
give you like ticket for drink and lunch. After the event, they thought like few people, so they would take them. But when we went there, we were given more than. But they gave the only those with the ticket. So if you don't have the ticket, you can still participate.
Yeah.
You need to buy your own drink, which was.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that it's still open to anybody like strolling in on HapChance. That's really nice that you could still be a part of things. But just to recap, Amos, what are your thoughts on your experience of WWDC 2022?
I think it is really great to attend this in person, because you meet a lot of people that you would never see like in your life, like with people all the time, but to see them in person is really, really great. And also to see the Apple Developers Center and the SwiftUI lab where these engineers work from is really, really nice.
Yeah. And for you, Stefan, what are your thoughts on WWDC this year?
I mean, I had huge FOMO because you saw all these nice pictures of people like spending time together there, not necessarily at the event itself, but as Amos mentioned, like the iOS Dev Happy Hour and everything.
Yeah.
So that was hard to see sometimes on Twitter, I have to say, but still, I think it was a pretty cool event. I mean, there were also like other things happening. There have been some nice Twitter Spaces. There have been some nice online events. So I think it was overall still a very nice week, with a very nice experience. So yeah, I think for me it was also fun. Probably not as fun as for Amos, but still it was a really cool thing. It's always like Christmas for developers, getting all these new announcements. So
I always like calling WWDC Apple's New Year.
yeah, same. So what was your experience, Jeroen?
So yeah, for me, it's been a busy week, most of it, because the weird thing was that the Monday of the keynote, that was actually a public holiday in the Netherlands. So I just had like a very casual day off, just not doing much, minding my own business. And then at 7 in the evening, that's when things started really for me. Because what Stefan and I did on the Monday evening for us, so when the keynote started, we were watching the keynote, and especially Stefan, he was taking notes frantically. Just making sure that we got a good overview of what was being shared in the Apple keynote. And then I think the keynote was over. It lasted like close to 2 hours, I think it was. And then we started writing, the two of us. And that's why, meanwhile, knowing that Amos was just enjoying the scenery, being in the vineyard at Apple campus, enjoying
cool
casual
people.
conversations, slapping backs with other people. The two of us were like really frantically typing, because we just split up the work and we started typing, and we created an article which was kind of substantial when we finished. We were surprised, both of us, with what we ended up with. So that we could put that live.
I was surprised as well, like to get a time to just put it together in a short time.
Yeah, and once we had it finished, that was like the keynote started at 7, and I think 4 or 5 hours after the start of the keynote, we had our piece live, including images and everything. And then also the State of the Union also happened, but Stefan and I agreed that we need some sleep first. So in the morning, we started the next day watching the State of the Union again, because I had a bit of a look the night before. Do the same thing writing. but this article turned out to be even bigger than the keynote article. But I think it's also a good article with nice pictures in there, lots of stuff. And we got that out on the Tuesday morning even, I think it was.
Yeah.
So that was basically the first 2 days for me and Stefan actually. And then it was like getting updated with all the videos, picking what things to watch, meanwhile keeping all kinds of other things going that were ongoing because of my day-to-day job, because I still needed to do some review work. I wanted to look into some code and stuff. So it's really been a very intense but enjoyable week. I am tired now, but I wouldn't have wanted to miss it in any way. I am hugely jealous of Amos and him being able to travel to the United States, to Cupertino.
Yeah,
First time
I
for you
even
traveling?
yeah, it's my first time ever. Yeah.
Cool.
I forgot. I even met Malin and Daniela. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I saw the pictures there on Twitter.
Yeah,
So
they also attended the event and they were so happy to meet other people as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
was nice.
are they different in person than on a video stream?
Yes, I would say Daniela, like she's open and just try to talk with you so many things. Or Malin is a bit shy.
Yeah, but I do think it helps that you've sort of like seen each other before, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
you meet in
you-
person.
yeah,
You have some common
yeah.
ground to start with.
Yeah.
And of course, we're all Apple developers there
Yeah.
on the campus and on the event surrounding.
Just happy to meet me and we were talking about stuff all the time.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So, looking at the WWDC week, we already talked about what were some of the cool announcements that we mentioned, but of the whole experience, content, the experience, the events, doesn't matter what was the biggest thing for you of the whole WWDC week for you, Amos?
The improvement in Swift UI. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of videos about Swift UI, and now I find it very difficult to know. I know where to start from, but everything will be really hard.
It's so much,
So-
right? That's a bit overwhelming. Yeah.
What I've now planned is 100 days of Swift. No, 100 days of Swift
Yeah.
UI. Up the same process to all the videos, like to do video and then do some written about it per day.
You mean 100 days of WWDC 22?
Yeah. Something like that.
That's a good idea, actually. We should all do that and just tweet about
Yeah.
it a lot, and then
Yeah.
that's it. It is intense, but it is an idea. Is it like
Intense.
100 work days or 100 weekdays that you're gonna do?
Yeah, I think weekday the best. Yeah.
Cool. And
No,
Stefan, what about you?
100 weekdays will be really tough. It will be really tough. So maybe
Yeah.
work days. Yeah. Yeah. Work
7 or
days,
5
right.
videos a week. 5 videos a week is
Yeah.
already a lot.
5.
But I do notice. I did notice when they switched to the online format of WWDC, the videos got shorter, right? Because in
yes.
the in-person editions of WWDC, these presentation videos, they were like 40 to 60 minutes, and now you even have videos that's like 7 minutes or 15, or if you have a long one, it's like 30, 35 minutes, and that's the top really, except for of course
Yeah.
the big announcement videos like the State of Union and the keynote. But yeah, to carry over to you, Stefan, what was like of the whole WWDC experience this year the biggest thing for you? And I know you still have some work left.
I do. But like for me, the biggest thing was that I already touched on that like in the beginning, that it wasn't a WWDC of huge announcements, but I think it's a very welcoming thing, because for developers, a lot of things were introduced that make our lives better and easier,
Yeah.
while like improving APIs that have already existed, and then also like making some things easier that have been harder before. One thing that comes to my mind is the app intents framework that makes it easier to integrate with Siri, Spotlight, and create shortcuts. So I really like the improvements on that side. But overall, I enjoy that there's no huge improvement or huge announcement from a user side, I think,
Mhm.
aside from the lock screen. But for developers, I think there's a ton of stuff, and it's really only like scratching the surface of what's new and what's now possible to do. So I really like that they focused on the developer experience there, and we will have some fun with that, I think, throughout the year, and once the stable releases are out, especially. What about
Cool.
you?
Yeah, for me it was mostly about the different experience I had with WWDC compared to previous years. Of course, I've been to in-person WWDCs years ago. I've experienced WWDC online before COVID, before the online edition of WWDC, and last year we had the first real online edition of WWDC, and it seems Apple is carrying over those lessons into this year's WWDC. But what was different for me this year compared to all the previous editions was that I was actually working with a team, the two of you, and just having to come up with ways, okay, how can we, with the three of us, best deal with all this onslaught of information and also absorb as much of this information as quickly as possible, so that at least as a collective, the three of us have a good grasp of all the announcements that are relevant to us and to stream, so that we can work with that in the coming months. That was like the biggest new thing for me. Basically the shared experience that we had. That was like completely new to me, and I really enjoyed that in a way that it was like I can't do everything, not by a long shot, but just knowing that there's people in a team taking care of things, so that I don't have to think about those aspects. That was like really refreshing to just know, okay, it's been taken care of. There's somebody who's covering this, and so I can focus on my part of the pie. And that was, I think, for me, it's not Apple related, but that was like the biggest thing for me, the experience this year, I think. And I think I want to do this again next year in a similar fashion, and then hopefully we can send Stefan or maybe myself to Cupertino. Who knows?
Cool. that,
Yeah.
that would be great. It's a really nice experience. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Amos already mentioned he's going to do the 100 days of WWDC 22, and that's also a bit of the aspects. Okay, how to absorb all this new stuff. We did a bit of divide and conquer between the three of us, but now we're in it for the long haul, and there's like over 100 videos available. How to deal with this? I think a good start would be to like share our ideas on what we think are good videos to watch, and to make it hard on you guys, I will share my view first. I think looking at the Swift UI and UI Kit overview talks, that's like the thing to start with, to get like an idea of what has changed in your developer experience for the coming months and the coming years, really. I think
Good to know.
using those videos as a jumping off point to get some idea of what's available, and then deepen your experience by picking and choosing your videos. I think that's the best start that you can have. And I'm still looking forward to some content that will be announced or made available later today, and that's the Use Swift for server-side development talk. Really curious about that one, what Apple is going to share there. So, Stefan, what is your take on this one? Where should people... what is one of the videos people should put at the top of their view list in the developer app?
So as you mentioned, we were pretty busy this week, so I didn't have the chance to watch too many sessions yet. And I wanted to quickly stress that it's also not necessary, right? Because like these are the sessions that are released, and there's now 1 year of waiting until the next WWDC. So we have a lot of time to go through all the sessions that we're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't stress too much on just going through everything now. I decided to dive into a few of the not so popular ones. So for example, I actually didn't watch the Swift UI overview talk yet, and also the UI Kit overview talk. I didn't watch those yet.
Yeah.
I watched a little bit about AR because I'm interested in that, and I really enjoyed one of the videos there, which is called "Bring Your World into Augmented Reality," and it touches a lot upon the object capture framework that was introduced last year, and I really like that they really explained more about the process that is taking place when like objects are captured, when like the entire AR kit experience is happening. And the cool thing was that they really built an end-to-end workflow just inside that session. They built an AR chess game and with custom shaders and everything. And I have to say, I didn't understand everything there because I haven't worked with custom shaders before. But still, it was a very nice way of just seeing not only theoretical content but a real world application that was being built there and the steps they took and the thought that went into it. I learned a lot from that. So my recommendation for one session would be bring your world into augmented reality.
Yeah, yeah, because this room scanning thing that they released was really cool, right?
Yeah.
So
There's also a session about that, but didn't watch it yet. So
yeah,
can't
so much to
recommend it yet.
take in. So
Yeah.
Amos, you as being our boots on the ground, you probably have seen the fewest videos of all of us, I guess. But I think you've seen a few sessions in person as well, or something similar. You've been in the labs, but what is something on the top of your list to watch of all the videos that's been made available?
For now, I think I have 4. So maybe I also of which ones I have to watch as well. But out of those, I watch. And the best one is what is new in SwiftUI. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. So there's one elephant in the room that Apple has put in their. It was in the keynote, I think it was, and that was their not so obvious slide that if you create a new app, you should be using SwiftUI.
Oh.
So what are your guys' thoughts on using UIKit or SwiftUI? So what are your thoughts there? Is it like if you create a new app that there's no other option, you will pick SwiftUI, or is UIKit still an option when doing development? What do you guys think?
I saw one argument on Twitter last week about it as well. Like if you're starting new, you don't waste your time to learn UIKit. Okay, but to just fight with it, like no, don't just in this way. I even put link to that in the notes, so you can just check it. So if you are just starting development right now, I think it to maybe start with because as the term goes, UIKit may something. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good approach. I mean, like it's fun to just say like this one's better, just use that. But I think in reality, it's you won't like in many cases you will need both. So I think it's fine to if you start out to focus on SwiftUI and like Jeroen mentioned, it's like the most obvious way that Apple like does it to force people to think about adoption of SwiftUI, because it's like the 4th year now, and I think the framework has like grown and matured a lot. So I think it's fine to think that it should start being the default solution, but there's still like use cases where UIKit will still be a better solution to solve a problem. So I think there's the boring answer of it depends, but I think the move will like go more and more towards SwiftUI in the future for sure, but also right now the trend is clear.
Yeah, I can understand what you're saying there, because I've been using UIKit for I don't know, as long as I can remember, I think. And I've been doing iOS development for quite some time, it sounds weird, but over a decade. And it's something that is, it's kind of hard for me to just say UIKit is something you should maybe at some point start moving away from, because it's been so central to my software development life for so long. I am getting my hand at SwiftUI, of course, but yeah, there's some nostalgia going on there with me, I think. I do think moving to SwiftUI is the best bet that you can take right now. But I also know that UIKit is not that yet, because if you just look at the what's new in UIKit overview talks, that was like there's a lot of stuff in there, and a lot
I
of the
need to watch
features
it.
in Swift UI are based in UIKit really. So yeah, I'm really curious to see what the adoption will be of Swift UI in the broader iOS developer ecosystem, because you not only have the indie developers like Jordi who can go head first on all the new stuff and support like maybe one platform version back, but you also have like the typical enterprise corporate iOS developers who are working on a code base that has a legacy of like years, maybe even like more than 5 years, and they have to at some point start making the move, or are already making the move from UIKit to Swift UI, right? And I'm really curious to see how that will progress in the coming 12 months, and but also what effects it will have on our work really, because at Stream we have an UIKit based Swift UI SDK, and we have a Swift UI based iOS SDK. And the Swift UI SDK is relatively new. It is feature complete, but are we going to see like a big move from our customers from the one SDK to the newer SDK? I don't know. We'll just have to see. I'm looking forward to it, that we can create even more Swift UI based content, because we are already in our content very heavy on the Swift UI aspect of things, and yeah, I think this is going to be a big year for Swift UI, really, just considering the maturity of it and the adoption that it's already seeing, and now also the way that Apple has like communicated about it in their keynote, and with iOS 16 people can start dropping support for iOS 13, which has been sort of like the Swift UI problem child, because Swift UI already got a lot better with iOS 14, even much better, usable even with iOS 15, and iOS 16 I expect that you can really create new full useful applications in it without having to fall back to UIKit, especially because of the new navigation structure features that are introduced in iOS 16 Swift UI. So yeah, very curious to see what will happen there, and I think I agree with the two of you that if you're starting something new, then Swift UI is definitely your first option, because of the convenience, the integration, and also how it carries over to other platforms within the Apple ecosystem.
It's also cool to see that there were also sessions about interoperability again. So if you have to use UIKit, for example, for certain tasks inside of your Swift UI apps,
yeah,
it will still be a very pleasant experience most of the time. So I think that's also a nice thing to see that Apple is aware of this, that this will happen, and they make this as easy as possible.
Yeah. So basically we've been talking for an hour now, so I think it's a good time to start wrapping up. Again, we want to thank our employer Stream for allowing us the time to spend so much time and energy in all the WWDC content, and we're not done yet for today, because I know Stefan will be doing an appearance at the Try Swift event, so that's Try Swift dub, tryswift.co, and you will find a link there, and there's a really great lineup of speakers there, and Stefan is
also
one
there.
of them. Yeah, it was very funny, because I mentioned to Stefan, hey, did you see the lineup of the speakers at Try Swift dub? And he basically told me that, yeah, I've seen it, and it's part of why I'm so nervous about this whole thing, which is good, because nerves are, well, but what can I say? It puts you on edge, and if it doesn't block you, you only get like more aware and better able to execute.
Easy for you to say, yeah.
Yeah, well, I've been there, done that as well. That you're like on stage and you go like completely nervous, and then you just have to go. You have to execute. And yeah, to wrap it up, if you want to see more of our content, more of the things that we do, want to stay in touch with us, send us DMs, whatever, because we're always open for communication, questions, input, feedback, and just a casual conversation on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter. I've posted the Twitter links in the chat on the YouTube stream. So that's Amos _Giamphi. and it's Stefan J Bloss and AppForce1, all on Twitter. You can find us there, and make sure to give us a follow, and make sure to like this video as well, because it will really help people find this video after the event, because I will publish this live stream on my YouTube channel.
You have to really practice the whole like and subscribe procedure.
Yeah, I'm not like super slick yet like other people with sound effects, ding 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 ding,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But that's okay, right?
Yeah,
I
Yes,
think
we did.
we get you there.
surely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ah,
the
nice.
thing is, I can do some things there, but I don't want to make it too cheesy, really, because then people
Cool.
watching this will go like this.
Nice.
So you wouldn't want to have that, right?
No.
No.
So, anyways, everybody who's watching this, thanks for your time, and thanks for your attention, and hopefully we can talk to you and share some content with you soon again.
Right.
Bye bye.
Okay. Bye.